Weather's not getting any better, is it? It's still freezing cold outside. I'm looking to get a little bit more active, to be honest with you. I'm getting on a little bit now, and I feel like, you know what, I'm letting myself go. I feel like I need to do something about it. There's some things that you can't do anything about. Like, listen, I got a big nose. I've always known I've got a big nose, right? And that's one thing that you can't change. Oh, you can change it, but I'm not that bothered to go and get like a surgery where they, chisel it down and all that just to make it a little bit smaller. I don't mind it being this big, to be honest. You've got some big chunky nostrils as well. My hair's going. That's something that I think if I could do with a click of a finger, I would change it to not go. But obviously that can be changed as well. But do I really want to go on, get an operation just to get the bits filled in and then it might not even stick anyway? That's something that I'm not really too sure on. But the belly, the insides, that's something that I can work on. I can start exercising again. I could go for runs a little bit. I played hockey for about 15 years. I started at university. I played for Bolton Hockey Club for years. And I used to be very physically active, very fit. I was playing 2-3 times a week. I was going to the gym like every day after my day job. This was before I started stand-up. Every day after work, I'd be finishing at 4 o'clock, straight down to the gym. And it's been on my mind. Like, I had to see, exercised a little bit yesterday. And one of the lads I used to go to the gym with, he actually asked me today, he goes, hey, me and Danny are going back to the gym together. Do you fancy coming? And I thought, I'd love to. I just can't really dedicate the time to it to be like, oh, I'll come with you because of stand-up. But what I could do is start going for runs a little bit more. And with the weather the way that it is at the moment, I can't even go for a run. Like, I know it's an excuse, but it's a bit icy outside. And I already fell a few weeks ago. If you've been watching these podcasts, this is what, episode 4? I think I mentioned it, episode 1, episode 2, probably episode 2. 2 or 3, actually. But either way, I fell, didn't I? I slipped on the ice, so it's something that I don't really want to be repeating. But I do want to be more active again. I do want to go for a run around again. The lads from Bolton Hockey Club, I got a message from them the other day, and it was like, oh, do you fancy playing this weekend? And that, bear in mind, I've not played for years. And I thought, you know what, I do fancy it. And I looked at the fixture list. They've got 3 teams, the first team, second team, third team. Because I've not played for years, I'd be just playing for the third team, wouldn't I? So I looked at the fixtures, and the third team were away from home. So I thought, right, I wonder if I can say, listen, I'll play, but only if the second team needed a player. So I looked at the second team. They were away as well. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do it because I'm so far out of the loop and unfit and so rusty that having not played for years and years, there's just no chance. And I'm not going all the way to Manchester to play 20 minutes and be absolutely knackered and huffing around after chasing one defender down for the ball. I don't think so. So yeah, but I do want to get out running again because I think it's something that I can do. Just make a little bit of a difference, just improve the insides a little bit because do it while you're young. And I'm not really that young anymore, to be honest with you. Got a fresh haircut today, made myself look a little bit young. I got this thick old beard coming on, which hopefully I'm going to shave off in a few months. But ultimately, the big thing is I need to start running. That's the big thing on my mind at the moment. I need to start exercising. Maybe if I could just get into the routine of doing like, so I remember being like 17, 18, 19, no, yeah, about 17, 18. And I got into a really good habit of doing 30 press-ups in the morning and 30 sit-ups. And then I built my way up to doing 6, and then 30 in the night and 30 each in the night. And then I built my way up to doing 60 in the morning of press-ups and sit-ups and 60 in the night. And obviously you're young anyway, so I was skinny young, but like I was getting like a stronger frame together rather than just a skinny frame. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't, Mark Henry or anyone like that. I wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wasn't going to start getting any bodybuilder of the year awards, but I was feeling healthy and I was feeling good about how I was feeling because for me, it's never been about looks. I've never really gone to the gym and been looking at myself in the mirror going, oh, bloody hell, my biceps are getting bigger, aren't they? Maybe I should have done that. Maybe they'd be bigger by now. But what I did used to do is, like, you feel better. Your body just feels like it's working in a fluid motion, whereas because I've not done anything for ages, I feel myself getting older. I feel myself, it's hard to sometimes sit down in the chair. I feel myself doing that. I can't be having that. I can't. For someone who used to be very physically active, even going back just, about 7 years ago when I was, just before the pandemic. Because it was about the pandemic. I think I played a couple games in the pandemic and that was like the last that I played. So yeah, I'd love to start doing that again. But it's difficult around gigging. But I'm not gigging that much at the moment because it's January. It's been a bit quiet. I'm trying to start to fill the rest of my year in. But this week I was gigging once. I was gigging in Wales. I closed the show at Magic Bar in Llandudno. They all had a good laugh at me because I called it Landudno, and they asked me, oh Adam, can you do a bit of a promo video? You're going to come down here, you're going to close the show. Can you do a bit of promo video so we can put it on our social media? We can advertise it to the people who follow our page and hopefully draw in some people to come to the show, right? You're going to be the one who's telling them, listen, come to the show. Da, da, da. So I did, I went, guys, listen, it's the start of the new year. Come down to Landudno. We'll have fun together. Da, da. Whatever I said something like that. Anyway, the guy who's hosting, I'll talk you through the full story, right? So I was used to go with a mate of mine, but he had an issue. So, okay, I can't go with him. So I asked the guy who's hosting it, and the guy who runs it, I said, listen, can I bring another act? And then I'll pay them something out of my fee, and I'll pay them petrol on top of it. And can we squeeze them on the lineup to help me get? He said, not a problem. What a gentleman the guy. His name's Chris Williams. What a gentleman the guy was. He said, of course, that's not a problem. We'll fit him in there. We'll squeeze him in. I thought, absolutely perfect. So Phil Milton, me and Phil have been going to a few gigs here and there now for about maybe 6 months or so, and it's nice. It's nice to just sit in the car, relax, chat, because we chat about comedy from two completely different angles. I'm more like talking about my life and things that I've been through and stuff like that, whereas Phil's a one-liner. He will just come up with a gag, regardless of if it's got any realms of reality. So, you know, if he could come up with it, I was on a spaceship the other day and I was flying past Uranus, and he'll come up with a joke about it, right? And it doesn't have to be real, it just has to be funny, and that's the beauty of comedy, right? It doesn't matter if it's true or not, as long as it's funny and that the audience enjoy it. So he comes at it from that angle. So when we're talking about stuff in the car, he's always talking about stuff that I don't really know anything about, because he listens to the podcasts of like the British comedians where they're talking about like how comedy works on that level where you break things down to try this and try that, and the trial and error that they've been through. And I find it really, really interesting that he can talk about it from that angle, whereas I just talk about it from like my own experiences and what I've kind of seen. And that's not the perfect answer to it. There's no perfect answer, but I know it's not the perfect answer just based off what I've seen. So I really like listening to what he's got to say based off, I heard such and such a person say this. They've been doing comedy 15 years. And I go, that's really interesting, that. Save me listening to the podcast, right? So anyway, me and Phil go down there. As we're on the way, Jimmy Shirley, I've known Jimmy for years now. He's a Scouse comedian. Jimmy was ringing me. He was ringing me like 10 minutes before the show, and my phone was in my pocket, and I was panicking. When I looked at it about 20 minutes later, I said to Phil, I was like, oh crap, Jimmy's been ringing me. Like, I wonder what it's about. So I'm thinking, I know Jimmy doesn't drive, and I'm thinking, I hope he's not stuck somewhere at a train station and he's asking us, can we get a save or anything like that. Nothing like that in the end. Jimmy didn't need a rescue, but what he did need is to tell us that the act that was supposed to be in the middle of the show, Jimmy was opening it, the act that was supposed to be in the middle of the show has dropped out. He says that he can't make it because of the trains or whatever, and like, I thought, you know what? It's put us in an interesting predicament here, because now it's turned out positive because now we don't have to squeeze Phil onto the lineup. Now he's got his own spot on the lineup and he can do a full length spot. He doesn't have to do a little bit of a trimmed thing. And on top of that, the guy who did drop out, he does some things like similar thematically to me. So he doesn't do it in the same way as me. He does it in a completely different way, to be fair to him. But some of the things thematically are similar. So I thought, you know what, it's actually saved me, because now I don't need to watch his stuff and go, okay, I don't really want to talk about that because they might have heard too much about it. Sometimes you link it back in and go, oh, such a person was talking about this before, and then there's my angle about it. But sometimes you go, oh, our angles are a little bit too close together here, or maybe we're talking about different subjects, but the punchline's around the same thing. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll take mine out because I've already seen him do his here tonight now. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to worry about what he's doing. But Phil has one joke in his set that is very similar to how I usually start my set. And he ends with that, and I start with mine. And it's similar, but again, not the same. But thematically, I was thinking to myself, oh, we're going to do this show. And they're going to be like, this last guy, all of his jokes are the same topics as the other guy. He's just talking about the same topics as them. And I didn't want it to feel like that. But luckily, he dropped out. Phil took that spot in the middle. And then he didn't even do that joke in the end because he knew I was going on after him. He thought, you know what, I won't even do it. And he didn't need to do it. He went on, did well. Crowd loved him. So that was a nice thing to watch. And then I'm just relaxing. Usually how these things go, there's a break in between every single act. However, There wasn't a break. Anyway, well, we'll talk about this as we turn up, right? And it's called Magic Bar in Llandudno. And the guy who's hosting it is Chris, the guy who's the booker and all that. I don't know if he runs the bar or what his actual role there is day to day, but he was running the show and he was hosting the show as well. He's on the stage. And when I get on there, we get in there, he's doing a magic trick with like a little puppet beaver, and I'm thinking like, but Jimmy on the phone had told me it was a really lovely gig, so I'm thinking this is a very interesting dynamic for comedy, because obviously he's not a straight up comedian, he's a magician, he's doing like tricks and stuff like that. They were funny what he was doing, and the crowd were absolutely loving it. I thought, you know what, this is a great crowd here, and he's really got them going, so he's really doing what he needs to do to get these lot going. So he's not just going up there and being a dry magician. Again, I don't know what he does on a regular basis when he is a magician, but I could just experience it from there. I've seen dry magicians in the past. I think I told you in another podcast where they did the table magic and all that. That was a very dry bit of magic, not much humour involved in it. But like I said, this guy, humour involved. And I thought, this is very interesting. Anyway, Phil goes on, does well. And then there's supposed to be a break. There's no break. I'm stood there with my coat on, drinking a coffee. And he's going, right, everyone, are we ready for our next act? And I'm not even listening because I'm expecting him to throw to break. And Phil just looks up at me and goes, I think you're on. And I look up and he's like, well, all right, guys, get the clapping started. I'm like, bloody, taking my jacket off, like strapping my watch on. I'm walking to the stage, like strapping my watch on, putting my coffee down, asking the guy behind the bar, can I have a pint of water, please? I need something for while I'm on stage. I don't really want to have a coffee on there. Thrust onto the spotlight, boom, and as he's bringing me on, he's telling the audience, you might have seen the video on social media where he's pronounced Llandudno wrong. And I'm thinking, oh no. So then I went on there and I started off talking about Llandudno and how that was the correct pronunciation and all that stuff. In the end, it didn't really matter because the majority of the audience felt like they were like people on holiday, like people I'm not so much retirement age, but like 50 years old and up, all people who like retired. All people who were there on holiday. The reason why I keep saying retired is because I'd be asking people in the audience when I was just chatting to them, who's something I didn't know, who's not, oh, what do you do, oh, you retired, da-da-da-da-da. I was easing my way into the set. So, yeah, so there was a lot of people who weren't from Llandudno, they weren't from the area, they were just, there on holiday, and they thought, you know what? Comedy show, we'll give it a bash, and they all really enjoyed it. Well, I say they all really enjoyed themselves. They might have not. There might have been a couple in there that absolutely hated me, but for the most part, they were laughing along, and that's the most important thing. My housemate from uni came, Ryan came. I doubted him in the last podcast. I said, listen, you can't trust them Manchester United fans, and I was right. That's another matter. We might not touch on that. Hopefully, we don't touch on that. But either way, he came there, and it's the first. He was saying to me like, it's mad. It's the first time I've seen you since like you were first starting, and it is like the first time he saw me would have been like my 5th gig, and I did poorly's probably the wrong word, but I didn't do great. Overall you would say I did poorly, to be completely honest with you. You would say, I would look back, if I was to have this performance tomorrow night, I would say that was a poor performance for me. But when I was starting, I look back and I'm like, it was okay. It wasn't, it wasn't that bad, Adam, don't worry about it. But yeah, you'd want to perform much better, and I didn't perform good. And that was the last time he saw me. In fact, before that, the reason why I got into stand-up comedy was because going back to, I think it must have been like summer of 2016, I think it was. 2017, one of the two. One of our other housemates from uni, who was one of my teammates at Bolton, because he's from Bolton as well, Thomas, he asked me to be his best man at his wedding. And when we were chatting about it, he was like, yeah, the reason why I've asked you is because Liz, his wife, well, at the time his fiance, she thinks that you'd be really good at like the stuff that needs to be done. So I thought, okay, that's a nice compliment. I'll do it. So in the build up to that, I thought, this is their big day. This is their wedding. I don't want to let them down. What I'll do is I'll sign up for like an open mic, and whatever their speech is, I might just go down to an open mic and say, listen, can I just read this wedding speech here and practice it and try and like get it right and get the jokes, and can you just give me a few minutes and see what they say? And if they did, then I'd do it. But I was lazy, and I also thought, oh, what if I go and they say, no, you can't do that, this is for comedians only. And I didn't want to be like laughed out of the place for the wrong reasons. So I didn't do it, and I'm lazy and I put it off. So the day came of his wedding, and I practiced this speech, I don't know how many times. I did it in my house, I did it in other people's kitchens, I did it at work at the time. I did it everywhere I could do it, just practicing it, because It's their big day, and I didn't want to do anything that would let them down, right? I just wanted it to at least be neutral, but potentially and hopefully to improve their big day, to make it a little bit better, to even like that one moment where the eyes are on me, for it to go well and for it to go like better than well. So people would remember it and think, oh, this is a really good day, rather than being the guy on stage and being like, oh, yeah, what about this and this thing? Like, isn't he an awful guy? And he's, you know, he's ugly and he's... And everyone's looking around going, watch that, I'm his uncle there, and I don't really want to listen to you tell me he's ugly and all that stuff, even though he is ugly. Anyway, it came to the best man speech, and I did it. And it went down really well. Like, don't get me wrong, if you were to watch it now, and if I were to watch it now, there's loads that I would change, and there's loads that I wouldn't do, and I would deliver completely differently. But at the time, having zero public speaking experience, really, outside, like, getting up in front of class in school, I'd never spoken in front of strangers before in a live scenario. When it was like multiple of them, especially like a room full of whatever it was, 200 people, I don't know how many it was. I'd never done it before, so I was really happy with the results. And I remember saying to myself, like, I'm going to try stand-up. I'm going to try stand-up at one point. But I say all that to say this, is Ryan, my housemate from uni, the guy who lives in Llandudno, the Manchester United fan, he filmed it. So he's been there, like, kind of all the way through the process, even though he's only ever seen me perform 3 times. One was a best man speech, the second was my 5th gig, and now seeing me like, 7.5 years in, he's seen me like all the way through this process, and he was saying to me afterwards like, oh yeah, it's mad, da, 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 da. And it gave me that moment of kind of clarity of being like, wow, I have kind of come like a long way from there. In comedy, I don't feel like I've come a long way because there's so much more that I want to do. Like, I look at things that, like, you see people on TV doing, like, you see, like, Live at the Apollo, for example, QI's coming back. You see people selling out theatres, and, like, I went to see Peter Kay sell out Manchester Arena. These are all things that I would love to do, that I've not done, that I can't do. So I'm always looking ahead at what I've not got and what I would love to do. But in life, that's not the good thing to do. In life, the good thing to do is look at what you have got and go, oh, that's really good, isn't it? But I guess if you want to better yourself, and if you're in a career where you're trying to improve and go up the ladder, this is the way to do it, and this is the way to be motivated and, like, keep your eyes on the prize, for lack of a better term. So, but it was a good moment of clarity. He came with like 2 of his mates as well, so it was nice, you know. They said, oh yeah, you know, good stuff. Oh, well, you know, whatever it was, the positive stuff, you know, about the gig. So, you know, that was nice as well, that they came, that they enjoyed it. He also looked like Phil Milton. Like, he looks like Phil Milton enough that, like, when he was stood next to me, and people were like coming out of the show at the end, people like shaking his hand, going like, oh, well done, young man, and he's laughing. He's like, it's not me, it's him over there. And then Phil's like, hey, it was me, yeah, thanks. So that was Magic Bar in Llandudno, which, you know, I've been lucky that this year, all the gigs I've really, really enjoyed. I've only performed like, 3 times so far. We're towards the back end of January. I'm hoping to do 2 tomorrow. One, I'm closing somewhere in Salford. It's KS Comedy. It's for Kieran Said. And Kieran's, I don't know how he's getting on with his stand-up, because I've not seen him perform for a long time. I think the only time we gigged him was at like an open mic about 3 years ago. That's the only time I remember, like, I can remember seeing him perform. But he's doing really well. He was on Brassic recently, where he played someone's younger character. I'll be honest, I didn't see it. I'm behind with Brassic. I'm many seasons behind. But now I've seen him in it, I do want to watch it. I do want to catch up and see how he did, because it looks fantastic. And I'll be honest, if I was him, I'd be proud as punch. I mean, if it was me, I'd be buzzing with that. I'd be so happy that, like, I got an opportunity on, like, a TV show like Brassic. Because it's weird, I'd never even heard of Brassic. And then when I started putting stuff online a few years ago, loads of people are going, you sound like Brassic, you sound like Brassic. I'm like, what are you on about? You sound like Brassic. So I put it into Spotify. I thought it was a band. Anyway, it turns out it's a TV show. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I'd love to be in the future. Some of my other friends have been in it. Alex has been in it as well. And known for his character Clinton Baptiste. So it's nice that that these things are happening for him. And like I say, I've not seen him for a while. So it'd be nice to see him tomorrow, do that gig for him. I'm getting to close the show. So what I'm hoping to do is, I'm hoping to double up and do 2 shows. The only problem is, it's I thought it was in like Manchester City Centre, like Salford, which is just on the edge of the centre. But it's not, it's in Salford. So if I am going to be able to get a double, I need, and this show's going to like finish a little bit earlier than the usual ones, I kind of have to be there for probably about 8:30, I think, tomorrow. So I'm going to need an earlier show. So I'm looking for an earlier show basically in Manchester tomorrow. I'm hoping Creature's earlier show tomorrow, which is a storytelling show, is an earlier time. And if it is, I'm going to go and do that. Which, again, going back to my first ever gig, I went and told this I started telling the long form story, and then they cut me off because the 5 minutes was over, and they cheered me off because you only got 5 minutes, and then you got cheered off or whatever. So I want to go and tell that story properly in front of people. So hopefully I can do that tomorrow, double up my gigs and get 2 out of it. But otherwise, if I don't, my second gig coming up will be in Birchwood, which is like near Warrington. And that's for a booker called, well, they called A Rush of Laughter. Maybe I shouldn't say his real name in public. I don't think he'll have a problem with it. His name's Adam Rushton. In fact, he's hosting the show, so he definitely won't have a problem with it. His name will be on the poster, won't it? So yeah, Adam Rushton's an interesting one because I've never actually met him that I remember. But he and me, we have got, he, me and me, we. Lots of 2-letter words with an E on the end. Anyway, I've got mutual friends from outside of stand-up, and Ryan's got those same mutual friends, and Tom from before as well. We've all got those same mutual friends, and there's some of my mates from uni that know him from outside of comedy. So that's an interesting one. I like that. I like having connections to people from outside of comedy, because there's a few people like that I've got like real-life connections with. There's a couple lads in Leicester who know different people that I know. Funnily enough, one of them knows another one of my housemates from uni. And I do like that. I like having those connections. So, like I say, I don't think I've ever met him. I did gig for him like once. Like we're going back to 2020. It was the day of the Super Bowl, actually. That's when it was. And yes, this would be the first time that he'd be there. He was like a groomsman, fully enough, for one of his mates' weddings, who's a comedian, Matthew Kipfong. Another guy that I really like, Matthew. So, yeah, be good to gig for him. Alex Boardman's opening the show. Really have a lot of love and respect for Alex, because Alex has done some like very positive things for me. I'll just put it that way. I know he's got me booked once on a show, and he actually drove me to the show. I think he might be the only pro comedian who's ever driven me to a gig. Like something like, not someone who's like on my level. I think he's like, or someone that I know. He's the only one, I think, who's like a proper pro that I look up to, who's like done that favour for me, because you don't need to do that favour for someone. If you're the pro, just let him get on with it. Either way, he's done that. He's helped me get on gigs and stuff like that. He's given me good advice. He always asks like thoughtful questions when I see him as well, like asking me like how I'm getting on and stuff like that, and has advice for me, which I really, really appreciate. I remember once I went to a gig and I was supposed to be doing 10 minutes, and he was like, do 20, and like, because what he wanted to do is what I think he wanted to do was, I think he wanted to like help me in the eyes of that promoter there. The promoter came later because they were at a different gig, and he was like, Adam did 20. And then the promoter was a bit annoyed. He was like, why have you done 20? And Alex, to be fair, Alex's credit, he was like, no, I told him to do 20, and it went really well. And I thought, you know what? He doesn't need to do stuff like that for me. And he did. So, really like him. Deliso Chaponda's closing the show. Deliso, another lovely man. I've only gigged with Deliso a few times, but we've shared like taxi journeys together on the way back from gigs, and train journeys together, coming back into Manchester. I wait around, watch him close the show, and then we head back together. So yeah, I do really like Deliso. But yeah, that's the one. Those are my 2 gigs coming up this week, which I'm really looking forward to. Again, just as many run-outs as possible. That's what I want in a stand-up. But yeah, getting the good gigs, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put the quality over the quantity, but at the same time, you want the quantity. You want 365 awesome gigs in the calendar, booked up every day, ideally, or two a night, that kind of thing. 700 and whatever the 365 doubled is, 730? Yeah, I'm sure my maths is pretty terrible. It took me that long to come with that, and it might not be the right answer. But yeah. Also this weekend, in between, we've got a biggie. It's not a stand-up gig. It's not a gig whatsoever for me. It is WWE's Royal Rumble. And anyone who knows me, you're looking at me with the Bret Hart hoodie right now. I absolutely love my wrestling. I absolutely love my wrestling. Don't get me wrong. This year I've probably only seen 2 shows, but 2 shows is a lot for the average person, right? I used to watch every single show. Now, like I say, we stand up, I can't give time to the gym or time to this. I can't even give time to sit at home and watch the wrestling and catch up. But I do still love it. But my favourite show every year is the Royal Rumble, pretty much. The one that I look forward to the most is the Royal Rumble because it's the one with the most chaos. First of all, there's 2 Royal Rumble matches now on every single show. The women's one and the men's one. And either way, I love going into it and not knowing what's going on. There's so many wrestling fans who... they're so nerdy in the culture where they want to know every little potential spoiler. I've heard that this person's contract's running out, so they're going to be thrown over the top first. I've heard that this person's going to come back for a quick run where they're going to be on TV every month, so they're going to be in the Royal Rumble. They're going to win it, and they're going to win it, go up to WrestleMania. I don't want to know. I want to watch it. I don't want to know beforehand. I want to watch it. It's like, you know... It's like your mum phoning you and explaining the food she's going to cook for you. No, mum, you don't need to do that. I cannot wait to come round the house, you to cook, and for me to eat that dinner because you are a brilliant cook. I don't need you to describe what the food's going to be like. I need to experience it. That's what it's like with the Royal Rumble. 30 men in one ring. It's my kind of fun, guys. Cannot wait for it. Who's going to win? I don't know. But at this point, I don't care. I want to be sat in front of the television, watching it, thinking, oh my God, anything can happen here. Obviously, as it gets towards the end of the match and the stories that the announcers are saying, you start to get clues, and then obviously the last 4's in the ring, and you go, well, these two, they're never going to give a chance at WrestleMania right now, so they're not going to win it. It's one of the other 2 guys. And then you get surprises like Jey Uso won it last year, John Cena's retirement tour. Jey Uso threw him out of the Royal Rumble, and he ended up winning it. Great stuff. I absolutely love it. I cannot wait to sit down. Men's Royal Rumble, Women's Royal Rumble, the whole card. Sit down and watch it. And again, spoiler free. Just enjoy yourself, Adam. Enjoy it. Wrestling fans out there, if you're one of these people who goes around and you look at all the spoilers, don't do it to yourself. Just enjoy it. What else is coming up besides the Royal Rumble? Of course, we've got the Cricket World Cup coming up. Now, guys, I'm going to talk about topics here that you might not have much of an interest in, but I'm going to try and do it in a way that's entertaining and interesting enough for you so you don't have to be an expert. Like, I'm not going to go into the minutiae of everything. The Cricket World Cup that's coming up is very interesting, though. It's the T20, so if you like any kind of cricket, it's the second quickest one. There's one called the 100, where they throw the ball 100 times. There's this one where they throw the ball 120 times. That's the difference, right? 120 times, it's a very short format. Matches are quick and done in a day. Boom, nice and easy. And it's going to be held in India. Now, this is where the tension begins, ladies and gentlemen, because Pakistan and India have got a little bit of a drama going on. I was going to say beef, but it's disrespectful to the Indians to say beef, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say drama. They've got drama between themselves, right? It goes back as far as you can imagine, right? It goes back to literally the birthdays of both countries, Pakistan and India. They've been beefing ever since. Drama in ever since. Didn't mean to say that. Anyway, so last year there was a competition called the Champions Trophy where all these teams turned up to Pakistan to play the tournament. And India were like, nah, we're not coming. And then the board who control it, like, what? You're not playing? He said, no, we didn't say we're not playing. We said we're not coming. We're going to play our games in the Middle East. And they were like, right, fair enough. So now it's Pakistan's turn and they're like, well, we're not coming to India then. We're going to play all our games in Sri Lanka. And the board were like, right, fine, fair enough. You play all your games in Sri Lanka. So then Bangladesh were like, well, wait a second. What about us? We don't want to go to India either. Now, India versus Pakistan is the biggest game in all of sport. The most people watch that one game every time it is played. The more people watch that than Liverpool Man United. More people watch that than Yankees versus Red Sox in the baseball. Any game you put on, any sporting event you put on, more people will, if you put them all on in the same week, more people will watch Pakistan versus India than any of those. So that's where all the money is, right? So Pakistan and India, they can kind of get away with it, especially India, because they're like the top dogs in world cricket in terms of how the money works, right? But Bangladesh is like the little stepbrother. And the little stepbrother who, like, no one respects. So, like, they go in, yeah, do you know what? Nah, you're out of here. Whereas Pakistan likes their little stepbrother Bangladesh. They don't get along all the time, but they like them. And they say, well, actually, if you're going to kick Bangladesh out, which they have kicked Bangladesh out now, they put Scotland in their place. Pakistan are like, well, actually, we might drop out as well. So now Pakistan might drop out. Bear in mind, this is starting not this weekend, next weekend, and it's like, what is going on? And the Scotland team don't even have visas to turn up to India yet. It's like, it's just absolutely like wild that all this is going on. You wouldn't have thought there's so much drama going on in cricket, but there are, because these big boys here, they don't play nice with each other. These three sets of brothers, yeah, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. They're not getting on with each other, and like there's so much into politics between the three. It's just, I can't keep up myself, to be honest with you. But listen, I think they all need to settle it. I think Pakistan, to be fair, should have gone, do you know what? We'll come to India. And I think that it was, I mean, there's a great Netflix documentary about it when there was tensions going on politically, and like there was drama going on between like the armies and stuff like that. And then Pakistan turned up to India. They actually beat India, but they performed so well that the Indian fans like clapped them off the pitch. They're like, you know what, lads, that's class. You were brilliant today. And I think we need that again. I think we need that. And I think we need to start to break it down. And I think India doing what they did last year. Pakistan have gone tit for tat for them. I hope it ends here, and I think going forward, I hope all the other teams, start to play on. Anyway, that's enough cricket chat for now. The other World Cup, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because obviously in America, you've got ICE roaming the streets looking for anyone who looks slightly foreign. They've, blasted 2 of their own citizens and off them very recently, and it's not looking great. It's looking like a really scary place to be, especially if you look or you sound foreign. What's happening this summer? The World Cup in America. So now you've got and then they've made a banned list, and half the countries are banned from going there. Now listen, I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong to do. I'm just telling you, it's absolutely wild that we're going to put the biggest sporting competition on earth, the World Cup, in a country where some of like they've said, okay, all the players can come, but some of the coaches might not be able to come. A load of the fans might be able to go, and if they do go, what if they end up bumping into these ICE agents? And what happens then? I don't know. I think it's just such a dangerous thing. Obviously, England are going to win the World Cup, so that's sorted. So at least that's sorted over there. And Pakistan will win the Cricket World Cup, so we're going to have a great year this year. Pakistan win the Cricket World Cup, England win the Football World Cup. What a great time to be alive. UFC was great this weekend. Paddy the Baddy's a big mainstream name, and he ended up losing. To be fair to him, one hell of a chin, that lad. One hell of a chin. He was getting smacked right up his chops, left, right, and centre by Gaethje in that fight, and he survived. He survived very, very well. But I think he came out of it with a lot of respect. But I feel like he might just drop down a few pegs in the pecking order, and then have to cycle his way back up. And we'll see if he can do that, because I'll be honest, he's got further than I thought he would in his UFC career, getting a title fight and getting to a decision. So he's doing well. He's doing very well there. Paddy the Baddy, the British, the Scouser, or as not TJ Dillashaw. What's his name? I can't remember his name. It's another guy from that old Alpha camp. What are they called? The lightweights. Sorcerers don't get knocked out. He's like, he's saying he's a sorcerer and he doesn't get knocked out. I love this guy. He's a Scouser, not a sorcerer. I mentioned Netflix documentaries before. There was that thing on Netflix this weekend. I didn't watch it. I don't know if any of you watched it, but that Skyscraper Live, where a guy climbed up a skyscraper from the outside, and it only took him like an hour and a half. I didn't dare watch it because I thought, you know what, if he falls, I didn't think he would fall, because I thought, you know what, he's not just doing it on a whim. He's not me rocking up to a skyscraper and going, I guess I'll give this a go. I have no chance. I won't even get past window number 1, me, never mind anything else. But this guy, he's gone and rocked up the skyscraper. When I went to get my haircut today, they were talking about it in the shop, and I've remembered, I thought, do you know what? I need to watch this, but will I go home and watch it? No, I won't. I'm going to jump on my podcast and talk about it first. That's what I want to do. I want to chat with people about stuff that I've not even seen yet, but I do want to watch it. It does sound interesting. There's that documentary, isn't there, as well, where there's that couple who climb the skyscrapers, and that one threw the willies up me big time. Because they're not just climbing up the skyscraper, you're climbing up the skyscraper with your missus, with your fella. When he gets to the top, he holds her up like that at the top, because they had a guy there flying a drone around as well, so they could get pictures and stuff like that, and then they'd advertise travel companies, and it'd be a mad view from the top of a skyscraper. They'd sell it to the companies, and then they'd advertise their They're travel agents and stuff like that. And as he's holding her like that, I'm thinking, I hope he don't drop her. I mean, obviously he's not, because they've practiced it over and over again, and it shows you they practice like on a board, and then they put the board like 6 feet up, and then he's holding up on that because right, this is going to be the platform size when we're at the top of there. Oh my goodness me, it put the willies up me. It put the willies up me big time, that documentary, because there's so many times where you're like, don't fall. And you're like, let's just show you over the edge, and they go, oh my goodness me, I'm sat in my chair holding it like that going, even now I'm leaning back so I don't want to fall over. Yeah man, it's that's a mad documentary to watch, to be fair. That is a mad documentary to watch. Did my backdrop just go like a weird colour because I did this? Is that what happened? There we go, it went a bit lighter there, I think. I don't know what I'm doing with this lighting. Yeah, scary. Oh, just also talking about scary, I watched this documentary called Predators made by MTV. And it's about that old To Catch a Predator show. Oh my goodness me, like, there's something about that kind of content that you can't take your eyes off, like, because it feels, I don't know about you, but I feel really uncomfortable watching it, because, like, you know what's coming, and you know they deserve it, but at the same time, you're like, I'm watching a guy's life, just like, his life's not over, but like, any value of a life is over, because let's be honest, who wants to be mates with someone who's like going onto the internet and messaging people because they think they're that age? And then, but you can't take your eyes off it. Like, the girl turns up and she's like some 21-year-old who looks like she's 14, and she opens the door and you see their eyes, they're like, oh, like they're so happy with themselves, and they go inside and like, oh my God, you're so pretty, and like you're cringing your back off, like, what is going on here? Because I think in life, I like to think the best of people. And you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I want to think that they've been tricked somehow into doing this, and that they didn't know the age. And then she will walk out of the room and be like, oh, I'll get you a glass of water in 1 second. And she'll walk out. And then Chris Hansen will walk in and he reads the transcript. And every time you're like, you absolute son of a, I can't believe you've been messaging. And you know that, well, you don't know, but you thought she was 13 or whatever. And you would just willingly go along with it. And then your blood starts to boil, like, get this person. And then, like, you're ready for them to, like, get got then. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go through that kind of roller coaster of emotions. And I like that. But, again, it's an uncomfortable watch because, again, you like to think that there's so few of these people in the world. But then, when they get exposed, you start to realise, like, there's just way more than you expect. And, like, it's a bit depressing because you think, how do we solve this problem? How do we... Like, I want kids in the future, and I want them to have a safe world to grow up in and be able to, even if, like, you take them to places like, if they've got a phone in their house or whatever, they can be exposed to anything, like, nowadays with like, I mean, I remember being a kid and, like, oh, this is a mad story. So I've been on that side of the coin as a kid, right? I remember being a kid, and there was a girl called Suzanne, and there's two sisters, Suzanne and Emma, lived on our estate, right? And they had the internet in 1998, 1999. And I had no idea what the internet was. So anyway, we'd all be in Suzanne or Emma's room. Whoever had the computer in their room, we'd all be in that room, right? And there'd be about, I don't know, 8 of us, like 4 boys, 4 girls, 5 boys, 3 girls, whatever the balance was. And then the girls had found, here we go, I'm exposing you now, but then again, we're adults now, like, your mum's not going to watch this, but even if she did, like, she could know. Like, they had found, like, these online chat rooms, right? So we used to go in these chat rooms and chat to people. And we used to pretend that we were adults. And sometimes we'd admit that we were kids, but we'd pretend we were 14, 15 or whatever. And we'd be chatting to people, and then one day the mum found out and was like, no, you can't do it. And bless their mum, right? I can't remember her name, but bless her mum. I can still picture what she looked like, black hair, brown hair. When we went that next time after she found out, she was like, no, you can't. You can sit downstairs and you can watch the TV, but you can't do that because it's too expensive going on the internet. And we were all like, oh, we'll chip in and we'll give you like £1 each, and then you've got like 10 quid, and then, you know, you can spend that on the bill. And she was like, no, no, no. You know, and then she, you know, then she let the veil drop a little bit. She's like, it's not safe. Obviously, she was protecting us and protecting her daughters from like potential predators getting us in those chat rooms. But God knows what would have happened if she didn't get involved. God knows if like that was a household where like maybe the parents were absent or not really paying that much attention. Like, and then we just all got on this, and then some guy was like, oh yeah, come meet me in Manchester, and we all lied, and then we all ran off to Manchester on the train or whatever. God knows what would have happened to us. So fair, full respect, but I remember we were devastated that we couldn't go on these chat rooms as kids and like chat to people, because we just thought it was amazing that we could speak to people there and then on instant messaging. But yeah, there's probably all kinds of creeps online trying to get you. But Joe, she, like I said, she was class, and I think it's because she had 2 young girls, and this is probably what you need to do with 2 young girls, especially in the 90s. Instead of letting them go out and then roam the streets with a bunch of feral little council estate boys like me and my mates were, let them all play in the house, give them the remote control to Sky Digital or NTL, whatever it was back there. And we used to just sit there going through like the music channels, like watching, like I remember in those days it was like Angels by Robbie Williams would be on like rotation. Jerry Halliwell's debut single, La Dolce Vita, da-na-na, da-na-na-na. You know that? Those are the songs that used to be on rotation all the time. And S Club 7 and, you know, songs that kids love. And we used to sit there, and I think it must have been the summer of 99. I'm pretty sure it was the summer of 99 that it was, that we'd sit in that living room all watching the TV together. And generally it was great times. There's times that me and my mates, we never really discuss, because it's something that's like out of my mind and you forget about. But it was such a great time to be alive tonight. I mean, everyone knows the 90s was a great time to be alive. And when I think of the 90s and you get that nostalgic feeling, I always think, you know, if you could bottle that feeling of nostalgia, what it felt like to be alive in the 90s, like the late 90s, 1999, and like my favourite things to do in those days was like play football with my mates on the street. Oh, I love that. And in fact, in their back garden, they had like a slightly bigger than a 5-a-side football net. And I think, again, the same reason, like if they want to play out, instead of sending them to the field where anything can happen, let's get a football net in the back garden. And me and my mate Alan used to always be in that back garden with her, and a lad from our school called Ross. His grandma used to live next door, and we all used to play football together in that back garden. I'll be honest, we weren't even that close with Ross back in those days. He wasn't. He probably would have never like said like, "Oh, we're friends" or whatever. But we did used to play together and play football in that back garden. Back in those days, and it was like I said, so those were my favourite things to do, playing that. Or we'd play like cops and robbers. We used to call it hares and hounds, where you'd run through the estate. There'd be 2 teams, there'd be the cops, there'd be the robbers. You do your picking and stuff like that. I was never first pick because I was always so slow compared to the rest of my kids. Leggy I was, leggy, asthma, lungs. This is why I need to get out running now, like get my body to the best I can possibly do it. Everything comes back full circle, doesn't it? I used to love to do that. I used to love to watch wrestling as a kid back then. 90s wrestling. We're talking summer 99. What? Summer 99, was that Austin versus Triple H, I think, for the title? Was that in summer 99? With Jesse the Body Ventura as referee? Yeah, I think that might have been. What else would have been going on? Oh, watching football. Obviously, United had just won the treble back in those days. Don't trust United fans. Arsenal had just won the double the year before that. That was a great time to watch football. Me and my mates used to play our own game of fantasy football, where we'd all gather around and we'd do a draft. We'd all sit around, we'd all pick players from the Premier League, the Championship, and the Scottish Prem, and we would just do it off goals. And every Saturday we'd pick our teams and we'd play against each other, and whoever's players got the most goals. That was amazing times. Then Pokemon came on the scene. Oh my days, Pokemon came on the scene, guys. If you were not alive when Pokemon came on the scene, it's massive now. But when it came on the scene, and all of just the cards were everywhere, and you could not avoid it, you couldn't get away from it. And I remember my mate Piggy, we call him Dave. Davids, we used to call him. We used to call him Edgar Davids back in those days. Me and Alan had no Pokemon cards. We hadn't got into it yet, but all the other boys were getting into it. And I remember he gave us both a Charmander. That regular base set Charmander, that red card, he gave us both that card, which is worth, even to this day, about £1. It's not worth a lot of money, but the fact that he gave us a card for free, me and Alan, I don't know how Alan felt, but I felt like he'd just given me like an ISO with 50 grand in it. Like this is going to go up in value, and this is so valuable. And everywhere you go, you've got that comfort of knowing I've got this and I can fall back on it. I had me little Charmander there. I was good for life. And honestly, from there, I was hooked with Pokemon. Anytime I could get £2.50, I think it was, off my parents, up to Jack's shop, which R.I.P. Jack, he passed away a few years ago. Was a good bloke. He used to sell Pokemon cards at his shop. I don't know what his actual name of his shop was, but we always used to call it Jack's. Anyway, he used to sell them for £2.50 in there. We'd be up there buying them, and I'd never get anything good. I would never get anything good, and I was so disappointed all the time, but I couldn't stop going back and buying Pokemon cards from there. Guys, the late nights, honestly, oof, you inject me with that feeling. That feeling, it's like a warm up blanket. It's like a hug from like a loved one that you've lost, you know, like it's like my grandma coming over and hugging me right now, even though, you know, she passed on, bless her. We're talking 21 years ago. It's like, oh, she was so hugging me now. Oh, that's the feeling I get when I think about the 90s. Having my grandparents around still, like that was, you know, that's always great. Christmases at my grandparents' house. My grandma, every year, she would buy me socks and a big bar of dairy milk chocolate, until one year she accidentally gave me tights and gave my sister the socks, and my sister opened them. She's like, I got socks. I opened mine and went, I've got tights, and everyone was laughing, and Grandma's like, yeah, I think they need to be swapped, to be honest with you, and Grandma's like feeling embarrassed, like, I can't believe I've done that. But yeah, honestly, the 90s was a great time. Shout out to Suzanne, don't even know her surname, not spoken to her since probably 2002, but got a lot of love and respect for you, for Emma, for your mum, the fact that you did all that. Her dad was a nice bloke as well, to be fair. I remember once her dad, we were playing football in the backyard, her dad's just sat in the, me and Alan, we just sat playing football together, and I remember saying to him, like, are you sure we can be here? And he's like, yeah, they said I can play any time, and I thought, do you know what, sick parenting, to be fair. Even letting the other kids just come and play. Don't know where Suzanne was that day, but she was at home, she was wherever she was. Me and Alan just playing foot in the backyard. Dad's just sat there going, let them play. They're just kids, let them play. Which a lot of parents in the 90s didn't have that kind of attitude, to be honest with you. A lot of older people on the estate, you play football outside of their house, they'd be moving you on. They'd be moving, like, no lads, you can't play here. Move, if that ball comes in my back garden, it's getting popped. How many times did you hear that as a kid? How many times did you get threatened by a big burly bloke who's probably like a tradesman or something? And they're like 4 foot tall, like skinny as anything, as a 10-year-old. And they're going, come here and I'll kick you. Oh, what are you talking about? I'm a kid, leave me alone. Let it go, Adam. Let it go. Let it go. It's fine. It's fine. We're all adults now. They were probably had a hard day at work. They were probably had a tough time. Some people were lovely though. I remember the woman who used to live in front of Alan. She used to be like, listen lads, you can play until 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, my favourite TV shows come on, and I don't want to hear the ball bouncing around all over the time. I want to listen to my favourite show and watch my favourite show. And we thought, do you know what? Fair enough, yeah. And sometimes she'd be out and we go, oh, we can play till like she comes back. And we play till she comes back. And she'd be like, hiya lads, you all right? Lovely stuff. Let us play on. That's fantastic. Love a bit of that. But yeah, it's funny because we actually had a playing fields right near our house. We used to play on the streets. But to be fair, it probably is because like everyone likes to think now that like there's like people who do awful stuff to kids, there's too many of them now. And there are too many of them now. But people think like there's more now than ever. I don't know if there's more now than ever. Or just in the old days, we didn't find out about it as much. Because parents were very protective back then. Alan's mum used to be very protective of him. Like not let him go like long distances from the house and stuff like that. I respect it because Alan was the oldest, her oldest. So I get that. I'm like my mum's third son. She's like, listen, you go play out somewhere. Don't run in traffic. I trust you to come home. My brothers grew up in like the 80s and all that, so they were doing God knows what, and they were all right coming back home and coming back safe. But yeah, I remember Alan's mum being more protective of him. But again, you have to be because God knows what used to happen on that. I remember awful stuff happening on that field. Now, not in terms of stuff like that with kids, but I remember seeing I remember seeing 3 lads with golf clubs batter 2 lads. Absolute, and me and the other kids who saw it, we're looking over, and like, bear in mind, we're like 12, 13 at the time. We're looking over, and we are horrified. We're like a deer in headlights. We cannot believe what we're seeing over there. And we're like, do we go over and stop it? Do we keep playing? Do we run away? Like, what if we're next? What if they're just like lunatics who were battering anyone? Like, we didn't know what to do. I got whacked off a different kid with a golf club. Luckily, I got my hand up like that and he hit me on the arm and I went crying to my mum. Guys, I cried so much to my mum. My mum's a powerhouse, man. My mum is an absolute personality powerhouse. Not a problem. That's happened to you. Who did it? Let's go. We're going to their house right now. It was Johnny, Mum. It was Johnny. All right. Where does Johnny live? He's a new kid who lives over there. Let's go. She's gripping me. I'm like, Mummy, I've just been here. Come on, you're coming with me. I'm crying my eyes out still. It's hurting even more because she's pulling my arm that's just been hit by a golf club. She's checking it. Okay, it's not broken. Stop being soft, lad. But no one's hitting my son with a golf club. We go to the house. My mum was a very fair mum as well. She was a very fair woman. She went there and she didn't kick off, but she very sternly went, hiya, there was two women sat like sunbathing or whatever. Hiya, who lives here? Whose son is it that lives here? And the woman's going, I live here. It's me and my kids. And she's going, right, well, Adam, which one is it? It's called Johnny. His name is Johnny. All right, your son Johnny has just hit my son with a golf club on the field over there. And then she's going, can't have been my Johnny. He's home right now. Mum's going, listen, I get you're going to say that. Nonsense. Doesn't matter what you're saying. I'm telling you the facts right now. He's just hit my son with the golf club. You can start to see his mum starting to crack now. His mum's starting to crack and be like, oh, I thought that would get rid of her if I confidently went, no, not my son, he's home now. I know it's your son. Well, I don't know he's your son, but I know he lives here, and I know he's called Johnny, and if you're telling me you live here and you're Johnny's mum, then he's definitely your bloody son, isn't he? Anyway, so she's like, listen, I ain't going to tell you again. Make sure you don't do that ever again. And she's like, right, I'll get him told. That's it, Adam, let's go. Boom, I didn't hear a lick off it ever again. Johnny became friends with me after that. Johnny was scared of my mum because mum was like, no. If you do that, I'm going to front up your mum. And I'm not a bully. My mum's not a bully. She's not going to go there and start threatening and that kind of thing. But she's going to go there and very sternly tell you, like, listen, this ain't happening anymore. That's your one. Luckily, he's okay and it's not hurting too much. But look at the poor little weak sod. Look at him crying his eyes out, the weak little... I'm not going to swear on this, but you know what I'm saying? I'm going, Mum, come on, what are you saying, man? I'm like, she's like, stop being soft, come on, let's go. Fair. Firm but fair, my mum. Absolute personality powerhouse. And, yeah. Obviously, I used to get on the wrong side of that sometimes. I don't want to talk about that. Got me bum smacked a few times. I'm not going to talk about that. Don't want to talk about that. I'm still embarrassed to this day. I used to cry all the time. Mum used to, put it up me. She did. She used to scare me, to be honest with you. But yeah, love me mum. Absolutely class. Great cook as well. That's one thing do you know what? That's one thing I won't say about Polish women, but I'll say about my mum. My grandma, not the best cook. My mum, fantastic cook. Brilliant cook. Absolutely fantastic. My dad taught us some of the recipes from back home. When we would go to Pakistan, she would learn off like my aunties and all that. She'd be in there, okay, this is very interesting. I got some stories I could tell you about that. Well, that's for another day. We're getting towards the end of the podcast. If you made it this far, drop me a comment that says, Landudno. Landudno. You can't even pronounce Landudno. Something like that. But something about that. Either way, I'm buzzing that you've watched this. Thank you very, very much. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like and all that. I'm going to be back every week. It's every Thursday I'm back with you guys with a new podcast. You can obviously watch it whenever you want, but if you wanted to watch it straight away, I like to drop it about 10:30 every Thursday. But either way, with that, I'm going to leave. Thank you very, very much for watching.